Hi, everybody. I'm here with our esteemed guest, Matthew Heppert from OneSource Staffing, and he's got a lot of really insightful things for us to talk about. I have a few questions that we're going to walk through today.
Right.
Well, go ahead and tell me a little bit more about your role and what you do at your company.
Great question, Jules. Before I get into my role at OneSource, just want to talk about kind of my background and how I found my way into staffing. So prior to joining the team here at OneSource, I was in consulting, and that experience, did that for about 4 years, 2 years in the federal space, 2 years more for implementing for tech companies. And really, I don't feel I would be successful in my current role if I didn't have that consulting experience and that mindset coming in. Staffing is a very fast-paced industry, a lot of problems being thrown at you at once, a lot of moving variables, whether that's different customer environments, us being in a service industry. You got to be able to adapt your services to best fit the needs of organizations that are putting trust in you to find you talent, people that are going to build their business. Coming in as a consultant, I kind of came in with open mind. I've been staffing now for 4 years, but prior to OneSource, had not been in the industry. My focus has always been on how do we create efficiencies? How do we create an organization that attracts good people that want to be here and incentivize them to improve as professionals and retain great talents. As head of operations, my main focus is what our service offerings are currently. What service offerings do we need to attain to meet needs in the market for the manufacturing organizations that we partner with, that we are attempting to partner with, know that we could bring value to the organizations. And then and also what offerings can we give our associates and our internal team members as well. So it's, constantly looking at what challenges are being presented. Are there patterns of either opportunities or pain points? And adjusting our focus, our priorities to best meet whatever those needs are. And the tough thing about staffing is you could lose sight of kind of your priorities or what's important quickly. And that big order comes in, big opportunity, new client, your focus turns to that, especially if there's volume or something isn't going the way it should. That becomes your focus. That can draw you away from some of those longer term or bigger picture ticket items that really move the organization forward. So I think many of my peers in this industry can relate to, maybe the frustrations or difficulties of being in a reactive, and this may go to any service-based business, but having to react to the daily needs of your different stakeholder groups, whether that's your associates, your internal team members and peers, or your customers, the lifeblood of the organization, with the bigger picture, long-term agendas that ultimately are going to pay off in the long run to make you a better organization. So yeah, that little long-winded, but yeah, that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate the insight. And it brings up an important point, which is there are a lot of staffing agencies out there who are trying to do this. So at OneSource, what's something that you guys do differently?
For us, we're currently in a position where we have long-standing customers that have been with the organization for 15, 20 years, almost the entirety of the company's history or life, as well as customers that we just brought on within the last quarter. So reason I bring that up is that longevity, I think, speaks to service quality, right? Which is in and of itself isn't a differentiator, but I think is necessary in order to work toward differentiators in the market. Having a baseline of service quality and rapid response. I think, where we're at as an organization now, what we do best is, scale entry-level positions in manufacturing, warehouse, and food and beverage. Certainly a good portion of our client business is in food and beverage. And that's something we would love to continue building a niche in and are actively working towards furthering that niche or specialty, specifically for food and beverage. Being a company based out of Wisconsin, based out of Milwaukee, in the state, in Southeast Wisconsin, there's such a focus on the agricultural economy, but also food and beverage manufacturing. Great clients to have. It's nice when you can partner with a local brand, recognized brand that you see in the grocery store, a brand that people love, consumers love, and pick it up yourself and know that, potentially this is one OneSource associate that made this product, right? So, having instances where we've, have partners where over the course of years, you could see their businesses develop. I think it comes down to, being intentional around the vetting process, finding people that are interested in contributing to an organization. So finding efficiencies in the vetting process to increase the quality of placement, making informed placements. I think in light industrial, you have customers, you have companies that a turnover and seeing a quick turnaround on faces may not bother them as much. It's maybe built into their business model, but then there's other organizations that just can't afford to spend day after day, or their supervisors getting burned out on, having to train new associates every other day. I think it can be a significant cost on an organization, and that comes back to trying to do your best and really genuinely be a strong partner for organization, and that, those placements have to count. And that's also, a cost to the recruitment organization as well, that every failed fill or failed placement that you have to try and re-recruit for, and there's obviously costs associated with that as well. So yes, in terms of differentiator, built on service quality, but also I think at our size, I think we place a high priority investment on tech solutions so that we can ultimately scale our services, and trying to make every recruiter here at OneSource just more capable, so that, it's not a matter of continuing to add more recruiters for capacity, but just making each recruiter that we have that much more capable and efficient because of their proficiency with the tools that they have, or access to resources and tools that are given to them by the company.
Yeah. So it sounds like you definitely found a niche, and it's so interesting that you would say that you guys have used tech to help out these food and beverage warehouse type jobs. Why don't you get a little bit more granular and tell me how that technology and what type of technology you might use in order to provide a full, more comprehensive and holistic solution like that for these people who really do need quality workers to show up?
Right. Yeah. So I say tech solution. Yeah, we'll get into kind of detail in a second, but it's, I think when going to a manufacturer or trying to pitch our services or what value we bring, I recognize the person sitting across the table, they've heard similar pitches. And if I'm just going in and talking about the quality of our recruiters or our vetting process, the steps of our vetting process, there's not a whole lot there that may stick out for someone across the table. And what we actually got the idea from one of our customers that was utilizing Alchemy Intertech as a training, learning development, just basically a learning management software with a manufacturing and specifically food and beverage manufacturing focus. So in the last year, in terms of making that investment, we have brought on several customers, or we've had several customers that have initiated interest or shown interest of incorporating a Alchemy course with varying degrees of customization or tailoring based on specific details to that company, along with the robust library that Alchemy offers. Truly substantive vetting and onboarding process before a candidate even sets foot on our customer's production floor at their facility. And the big thing, the big focus is the safety aspect of it, because we have individuals that come in that may not have experience working in food and beverage, and it's important for them to have an understanding of what are good manufacturing practices mean. What does that entail? Operate in a food manufacturing environment safely to protect the product, the quality and safety of the product, but also protect themselves and their peers. So that's number one. But I also think it helps with retention because it's a means of us setting clear expectations, and also just promoting and saying, hey, here's the benefits that come with working at this organization. Here's the opportunity. Yes, it's a temp to hire job, but the intent is hire you on, to bring you on. And here's the benefits of sticking out for that 480 hours, proving yourself, showing that you're serious about contributing, and here are the benefits of then getting that full-time offers. And it's in itself, having that program in place, it does help with the vetting because people will self-identify, hey, actually, I don't think this is an opportunity for me. Or you could tell, is someone actually genuinely interested in the process, and it'd say, hey, yeah, I got 45 minutes. This is a 45-minute training. I need you to pay attention. It was designed to help you to impart information in a video format that helps with retention. But also, we're going to assess you against it and say, hey, are you honestly interested in this opportunity? And that's just another, means of, for some, it may be an obstacle or, seems like an unnecessary step. But for us, it's to do a service to both the candidate, but also our customer, to make sure that we are making, like I said, an informed placement for both the candidate and for us as the partner that our customers look to from a trust and support standpoint.
I mean, it sounds like what you've done with the company is kind of position yourself to be able to proactively solve problems that you've seen across the industry with these unique solutions. Is that the case?
Yeah, I think what is really enjoyable about the recruitment industry or staffing, specifically light industrial, is most of our book of business is small to mid-sized business. A lot of family-owned companies or multi-generational, very very successful private organizations. So you get to see a wide variety of how organizations are structured, how they've reached success, and that takes a bunch of different forms. What their culture is, how their employees, what they think of the company, how they interact. And there's a lot of variations of what good looks like, right? But then there's different needs, based on a product that they're making, their production process, maybe past experiences, bad things, things that failures that organization has gone through during their journey that inform how they operate now. And that also informs what their interaction, what their expectations are with their vendors or their partners. Mm-hmm. So that's what keeps it interesting, because you're constantly exposed to different conditions or scenarios, different challenges. And, as a service provider, as a recruiter, it forces you to get creative, whether it's where do you source candidates with experience that's going to be valuable to this organization, or how do I incorporate small efficiencies into the vetting process or the search process that over time, over the course of, multiples of placement is going to result in, substantive improvements in placement quality, success, or just time efficiency and savings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So Matthew, what it sounds like to me is that your company is able to have a strategy in place where you're able to best offer some comprehensive services, but also each company is a little bit different in what their specific needs are. So in other words, you have this wonderful system in place, but it probably needs to be custom tailored to each new company that you work with. And you probably have lots of companies. So maybe tell me a little bit more about how that works.
Yeah, I think, that's where the challenge, comes in. Any service-based business is you have to make adjustments, accommodation, improvements to best serve or to address a challenge. But it all comes back to building it on. There has to be some standardization that tailored or custom approach is built on in order for it to work or for it to be scalable. That's where I like to say, or we talk internally. It's like, place the burden on the process, place the burden on the systems. If you have good systems and processes in place, that should take the brunt of the work, so that your team members, your operators, so they can have some freedom within that process, time even to spend time on the customization on the front end of what are we doing specifically to address the challenges and needs of this particular customer or this particular organization. So what that customization piece looks like, could be everything from, a tailored onboarding solution that's ultimately built on or has standardized content on the back end. What that can also look like is something that we've been working on for the last couple of months is our learning and development offering. So, we could be in a position where we have the candidates, we got a great bench, people with the skill sets that are going to make a strong impact at our organization. But if a company is not in a position to receive those individuals well, and that they may have a dated onboarding process or an onboarding process that really doesn't set clear expectations on what is a new hire, a new team member, what is their role in the organization? Why is their role important to the overall mission or the product that company makes? And I think it does speak to the fact that it is a partnership, whereas a successful recruitment efforts, if not received by an organization that's in a position of maturity or in a position to receive and retain talent, it's ultimately the customer on that end may not be happy with the fact that people aren't sticking around. Mm-hmm. So I think from the unique position of being in recruitment is you get exposure to a lot of companies. It helps you build idea of what is a well-functioning, what does a mature organization look like, but also, what are those patterns of those high-functioning organizations look like as well. And, taking that, and finding people with expertise from the learning and development or L&D field to come with us, approach our customers and saying, what is your onboarding? What does your learning and development process look like? What are your offerings currently look like? Is this an opportunity for not just us from a staffing company finding you talent, placing individuals at your organization? Let's look at that process and bolster it, see where we can make improvements. And that's something that as a company we're really making a heavy investment in terms of our capabilities, because we find it's a natural pairing. Not only does it support or is it complementary to recruitment and our core recruitment services, but it's another way that we can provide value to our organization, even if there's not a staffing or recruitment opportunity there, or if there's not an interest.
It definitely sounds like you have best-in-class service and highly skilled people who are making this happen. So one tricky element of that is positioning yourselves to the people who hire you for these types of services. What are some of the struggles that OneSource Staffing has had with positioning themselves and connecting with the right people who need to hire your services?
Yeah, I think, staffing is a tough industry from a sales standpoint. I think, my experience is doesn't span a huge time horizon. I'm coming in after COVID. In 22, 23, you had a lot of organizations that were starving for talent and couldn't hire fast enough. In 24, you saw really kind of a cooling of the hiring market, and in that where if people have hesitations around hiring, there's an election year as well. So there's organizations that are waiting for election day to see just kind of, okay, what policy, what administration is going to be coming in that has, impacts on what their budget is, what their focus is, their priorities. 24 being a tough year for the industry, especially from just a new client, new job order acquisition standpoint. So in terms of new client attainment, I think the challenge is having your services, what value you bring to the table, having that message stand out in what is, a real crowded space, especially in light industrial and depending on what market you're operating in, is how do you message, how do you create a voice that, is not as just transactional of you need people, I want to find you people, fill an order, right? It's sure. I mean, in the end of the day, that's our core business. That's what we want, especially if we get the volume, there's no one here that would say that's not what we want. But it's the services outside of just your core business that I think whether you're doing assessment, doing design and implementation on a learning development program, whether you have the opportunity to create efficiencies in a multi-vendor environment because you're introducing a vendor management system or potentially leading a master service provider program for a larger manufacturer, right? Efficiencies can be made within existing processes that maybe the buyer in this case just doesn't know or is afraid of the changes that come with trying out a new concept or trying out a new solution that company or that organization has not explored previously. So I think there's always the hesitation of doing something different, making changes. You may have a vendor you work with that isn't necessarily like knocking it out of the park. Maybe filling needs to a certain level. There's a certain level of contentment, but there's always a kind of an anxiety that comes with change. And ultimately, the change that I'm making, is that going to result in a better quality experience or a better level of service? That that's the unknown that comes with that as well.
So at OneSource, have you had any experience with hiring outside, like a marketing agency or anything to help you, boost your branding, connect you with those clients even better, and make that experience a little bit more seamless? And if so, what's that experience?
Sure. Yeah. So heading into 2025, I think it was clear we had made a lot of efforts, investment of time, energy, resources in 24. And what was a tough year for new client acquisition. We knew internally, like, hey, we need to make a greater investment in our marketing spend, our footprint. And lucky enough, it was just a well-timed LinkedIn ad came across Ares Media and the Ares Media team. And for them, what I think really spoke to our sales organization in those initial conversations with the Ares team is, a profit sharing model. I think that was new to us, in that marketing is, in my mind, a very, very complex field. I mean, there's writing good copy, writing good ads, but there's also a lot of tech behind making sure your marketing pieces are in front of your potential audience or potential consumer. That's just, that's the full-time job of several people, and recognizing that that's just not a capability that we have internally, are going to have internally in the near term. So yeah, that partnership with Ares and having that revenue share model, I think, really places our organizations in alignment, and what's good for OneSource is good for our marketing partner as well. So, the work that they're doing from being extremely targeted, but also the curation of the content or messaging, but also variation on channel exposure and messaging, I think is just a approach or a scale that we have not had to pass in previous marketing or with previous marketing partners. But what I think I like most about their, the working relationship with Ares is just speed, and then, not having a fear of just trial, and then just determining quickly taking any learnings or the results of that trial, and then applying either a different concept or doubling down on what works.
Yeah, absolutely. Super insightful. So is there anything in the pipeline that we should know about that OneSource is working on?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So 2025 is the year of learning and development for OneSource. So in addition to ongoing improvements and investments in our core recruitment and staffing service capabilities, we are making it a point this year to get out messaging to our current customers, but also potential customers that have expressed interest in our services around, what we offer from a consultative or an advisory standpoint around going into an organization, seeing what their learning and development footprint looks like, and ultimately going through a discovery phase, really understanding what the priorities of that organization are for this year or for the next 5 years, what the pain points are from the employee experience or current onboarding experience, and then devising and designing a proposal and then carrying that through implementation, whether that be through train the trainer services and handing it over as a standalone deliverable, or also offering just recommendations or advising on the adoption of a certain learning management platform. Mm-hmm. So we're really excited about it. We feel it really complements our core business, and also could help us work with organizations that really don't have a staffing or recruitment need.
Yeah.
Appreciate you having me on the show, Jules. It's it's been great first podcast experience for me. Hopefully first of many to come, but no, it's been great chatting with you.
Great. Thank you so much. Really insightful stuff. I think a lot of people will benefit greatly from this information, and I really appreciate your insight, Matthew. Thank you so much for showing up.
Thanks, Jules. You have a good one.
You too. Thank you so much. Bye.